Lorien is going about her day on her way to a supermarket when a corrupt sheriff named Maddox is taking pictures of her. When she returns, Lorien is suddenly kidnapped at the parking lot. The beautiful young woman wakes up in a countryside manor run by the unhinged and cruel Misha and the sexually abusive and delusional Heinrich. These human traffickers don't just take women off the streets and sell them off, but also use mind control techniques and hallucinogenic drugs to transform these people into docile beings with a nary distinct personality called Sophia dolls. Lorien is blindfolded and struggling when Misha arrives with a syringe in her hand and sedates her. When Misha joins Heinrich later, he berates her for sampling their merchandise to diminish their value. Misha insists that she didn't touch Lorien, but Heinrich insults her. He points out that she makes the other girls lovely, but doesn't make the same effort for herself. Tearfully, she asks him why he married her, but he just orders her to get their next Sophia ready. Heinrich inhales a substance called aqua velva. That evening, Lorien wakes up and easily unshackles herself. She steps out and searches the other rooms, finding one where a woman with bleached blonde hair just smiles at her. Creeped out, Lorien steps away and finds an open window to climb out of. A woman named Charlotte tries to warn her, but Lorien jumps off the roof, breaking her ankle upon landing. Unfortunately, the couple immediately find her. Misha warns that Lorien will be punished for what she did. That same night, Lorien wakes up to find Charlotte on top of her. She pushes her off and demands who she is, and Charlotte says she's no one. Heinrich takes an inhalant and sees a soaring, clown-like face. He tells it that he'll survive and attain what the entity has. Suddenly, Misha pulls him to sit and pleasures him as he stares blankly at the ceiling. The next day, Lorien wakes up and finds one of her toes cut off. Charlotte creeps behind her, saying it's up to Heinrich whether she lives or gets sold. Lorien asks her to get the car keys, but Charlotte hints that she's not acting out of her free will. Otherwise, she would have killed the couple already. Lorien asks who controls her, but Charlotte just warns that Heinrich will change her, so she suggests that Lorien needs to play along with Misha. Suddenly, she barges in and whips Charlotte. She later ties Charlotte up in the barn to punish her. Misha warns her to leave Lorien alone, seeing that she might lower her cost. Charlotte points out that she's the one who cut Lorien's toe, but Misha blames Charlotte for breaking the rules. Misha grabs her but reminds her not to harm the merchandise. That afternoon, Maddox arrives demanding more products from Heinrich. Maddox admits that they're still satisfied with the result, so he hands him a case of aqua velva as a present. Maddox then discreetly visits Lorien's room, waking her up by pressing on her injured foot. Lorien initially thinks he is there to help, but loses hope while he caresses her legs. Lorien guarantees to cooperate if Maddox calls her boyfriend, but the sheriff famously says that her boyfriend became the one who set her up. He then forces himself onto her until she bites him in the face. Enraged, he punches her before cursing his way out of the house. Soon after, the couple announces that it's time to turn Lorien into a Sophia before sedating her in the lab. Lorien lies on a metal bed while 5 mysterious people surround her. Heinrich then wakes her up and explains that they injected her with a mind-expanding substance. He then shows her a blue card, and after confirming that she can understand it, he forces her to watch violent and suggestive movies. The movies lead Lorien into mind control, and soon she starts dancing. After a while, Misha fires a gun to make her stop. Lorien's eyes gaze emptily as Heinrich carries her back to the table and commands her to touch herself. She complies and shares a moment with Heinrich, so Misha punches her out of jealousy. In his room, Heinrich hallucinates a girl telling him to do what they asked because he knows what'll happen if he doesn't. In truth, however, the girl is a corpse on a chair. Meanwhile, Charlotte talks to an entity in the barn, which she calls the Strength. She asks the entity to rule over her so it enters her body. The next day, Maddox arrives to deliver a new Sophia to a customer. He praises Heinrich for making such great dolls, but Heinrich explains that they'll be increasing the prices as the costs have skyrocketed. Maddox points out that he produced less this month, thinking that the aqua velva clouds his judgment. In her room, Lorien sleeps as Charlotte asks about her life. She says they could help each other, so Lorien opens up to her. Charlotte then tells her that Heinrich is under the entity's control, but Lorien thinks Heinrich loves her. She asks her if she's a friend, but Charlotte replies that she's nothing before slowly disappearing, revealing that Lorien was just hallucinating. Lorien then looks into a Bible and finds a sharp nail file. Later, the couple does electrotherapy on Lorien, while Charlotte feels the same electrocution. During this, Lorien sees Charlotte in her dream warning her not to go where they want her to go, but Lorien starts to believe that her life before was a joke. She thinks she can't be programmed, but also can't return to her old life. Lorien sees herself waking up with her feet uninjured. As she's driving, she sees another version of her, who lists down her old life revolving around work, her boyfriend, parties, and vacations. As she tries to get into the inner circle, she then finds herself surrounded by masked people, only to discover that they all are dead women. Lorien also finds her dead body among them, so she wears a mask and blends in. At the lab, Heinrich explains to Misha that he developed a technique to create a Sophia doll 20 years ago, and now they've perfected it through Lorien's mind. Soon, Lorien wakes up. Heinrich thinks that they are ready for the grand finale. However, Misha worries that Lorien will fail. This worries her because she does not want to die, but Heinrich pulls her sleeve up, revealing the cuts on her fingers. One day, Heinrich is examining Lorien, whom she now calls Sophia. He instructs her to put a gun in her mouth and pull the trigger. She obeys and finds the gun empty, hence passing the test. Later that day, when he enters her room, Lorien undresses and kisses him. She leans on him. Heinrich makes love to Lorien, which a furious Misha sees from the cameras. She cuts her arm as she watches the two get intimate. Within the evening, a person named Billy goes to the residence. Misha lets him get under the influence of alcohol and drugs before leading him to a room with a corpse on the mattress. Despite this, he spends intimate time with the body. Suddenly, Heinrich enters with the ladies. He commands Lorien to shoot the man, so she does. Later, Lorien joins the couple for dinner. He announces that Lorien isn't a true Sophia doll, considering that she's different from the others. Unhinged, Lorien smiles, but Misha interrupts by presenting a toast. Still, Lorien flirts with Heinrich, leading a jealous Misha to cut herself. Charlotte then enters and starts tasting everything but spits it out. The woman then begins berating Heinrich for making dolls for lonely men, comparing them to ancient technology that just creates trauma from trauma. As she rambles on, the others try to ignore her until she hints that their customers won't be buying a new Sophia, as they're just manipulating the couple as well. Charlotte then announces that she's leaving with Lorien, demanding the keys. When they continue to ignore her, she stabs Heinrich's hand and then Misha. She shoots the chandelier and asks for the key again. Eventually, Heinrich hands it to her, so she leaves with Lorien. Lorien and Charlotte get in the car, but Heinrich comes out, shooting at them. Charlotte tries to run, but Misha catches her and knocks her down. She then rushes to Heinrich while Lorien wanders away in the barn. Misha scolds Charlotte for interfering with them. Charlotte laughs, claiming that they're not a team, so Misha whips her until Heinrich stops her. She asks why he always protects her, adding that Lorien is a failure. However, he assures her that Maddox is looking for Lorien already elsewhere. Two women in a van see Lorien and ask her if she's okay, but Lorien doesn't reply. Seeing a police car approaching, the girls leave to let them deal with her. Upon returning to the house, Lorien wakes up screaming as Misha drills into her foot. In the morning, Heinrich instructs Misha to get Lorien fully bleached. Misha warns her husband that the substance is killing him, but he throws powder in her face and orders her to fix Lorien's foot as he is sick of her feeble attempts at control. Later, while preparing her for electrotherapy, Lorien talks to Charlotte in her mind, who tells her that the couple has decided to kill her. Lorien asks why she's helping her, so she explains that she needs to cooperate to survive. After she is electrocuted, Lorien imagines Misha slicing off her limbs before Billy attempts to get on top of her. She then imagines herself stuffing a doll into a corpse's mouth before seeing many variations of herself. Lorien decides that she's only a clone of a clone since the world is a simulation. With that in mind, she decides what to be instead. Moments later, she wakes up. That night, Heinrich uses Aquavelva and an entity appears before him. Still feeling like he isn't getting enough credit for his creation, he smashes their dollhouse. Meanwhile, Misha calls Maddox, who warns her about the clients pulling the operation. He found that they were only using them for an experiment, tracking their progress from the information they got from the Sophias, to perfect the Aqua Velva. He tells her to kill Lorien while he deals with Heinrich. Charlotte tells Heinrich to let Lorien go if he wants to survive. Heinrich insists that she's the key, but Charlotte stresses that they chose the wrong woman, and the clients knew that since they gave her to them. Misha forces herself onto Lorien to assert her power over her, and Lorien stabs her with the nail file. Lorien runs into a room, and Misha follows her with a gun. Heinrich hears the gunshots, so he rushes back. Trying to escape, Lorien runs downstairs only to find Heinrich, who also shoots at her. As she's hiding, Lorien finds a gun, but an entity appears before her. The distraction allows Lorien to get shot, but she still escapes outside. The wounded, Lorien runs, but Maddox chases her in his car. She suddenly disappears, so the sheriff exits his car holding his rifle and uses a flashlight. Seeing something in the dark, he shoots, but Lorien jumps at him from the back and bites his ear off. She then goes into the car, but he hops onto the hood, so she puts the car in reverse, dropping him. In the end, she runs him over repeatedly before taking the dismembered parts to the house. Misha staples skin onto Heinrich's face to cover his wound. Though he feels nothing, he expresses his exhaustion and blames Misha for forcing everyone to act in the same way as her. But she argues that she's the only one who figures things out, so he needs her. Shortly after, someone knocks on the door, but when they open it, Maddox's body falls into pieces before them. The couple quickly grab guns and start hunting for Lorien in the field, but Lorien shoots Heinrich. He follows her into the barn and opens fire as he can't see where she is. When he stops, Lorien shoots him again. Heinrich doesn't feel pain anymore. He resumes fire and accidentally hits Misha, killing her. Heinrich then takes out Aqua Velva, but spills it all over his face. Consequently, Lorien shoots him, creating a hole in his chest, but he still talks. So Charlotte arrives, apologizing to her brother before decapitating him. Taken aback, Lorien asks if he's really Charlotte's brother, and in response, Charlotte knocks her out. With Lorien strapped to a desk, Charlotte scolds her for breaking her brother, whom she believed was a master of this world. She tried to give Lorien a return to her old life so they could continue their work, and even gave her a chance to kill Misha, as she never wanted her to be with her brother. Lorien realizes that Charlotte is the true mastermind after all. Seeking revenge, Charlotte powers up a drill between Lorien's legs, trying to kill her slowly. But Lorien breaks free from her shackles and pushes Charlotte's head into the drill. She then escapes and hides as the wounded Charlotte searches for her. Moments later, Lorien stabs Charlotte with a garden fork. The movie ends as Lorien walks free, covered in blood, and still carrying the horrors of her experience. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.